You feel the difference between numbness and peace. Numbness is a locked door with no windows. Peace is a door that stays open to the weather and still stands. You clean the corner of the room that sorrow avoided. You fold the blanket that knows the shape of your shoulders. You place a glass of water where morning can find it. There is a sound your heart makes when it forgives itself. It is quiet like a field after rain. It is steady like a drum that was always there. You do not rush the making of a new self. You move like a craftsman who trusts the slow work of hands. You keep only what holds truth when the wind rises. In the mirror you meet your own eyes and do not look away. The person staring back is not smaller for having suffered. They are larger in the ways that matter most. You speak a blessing over your breath with a voice that does not shake. You speak a blessing over your feet for learning unfamiliar roads. You speak a blessing over your sleep for holding the world gently. Blessing 333. You remember the ones who could not stay beside you. You place their names on the shore and let the tide rewrite the sand. You gather your focus from where it was scattered and fold it into your chest. The old narratives lose their grip with every careful step. They slide from your shoulders like a coat that never fit. You feel the air on your skin as if it were permission. You begin to take back hours that grief once claimed. You use them to build a small, honest life within reach. You fill the corners with acts so simple they become holy. You choose food that feels like kindness instead of punishment. You choose walks that feel like listening instead of escape. You choose words that feel like shelter instead of armor. The seasons shift even if you do not ask them to. Trees do their work in silence, and roots become your teachers. You learn that growth often looks like stillness from far away. You place a chair where the light arrives first. You sit there until your shoulders remember gravity belongs to the earth, not to you. You let your jaw loosen until your tongue lies like a riverbed. A memory knocks and does not demand entry. You open the door with boundaries made of oxygen and intention. You decide what stays and what leaves, and power returns in quiet ways. You rewrite the map of your days with fewer detours. The legend is clear enough to follow without fear. The path is honest enough to trust without persuasion. You keep a promise to make your bed even when sorrow visits early. You keep a promise to step outside even when the sky is iron. You keep a promise to return to yourself even when distance tempts you. Your dreams grow less sharp around the edges. They do not cut your hands when you hold them. They grow soft enough to rest upon without sinking. You build a small altar of ordinary things. A stone from a place you survived, a page from a day you reclaimed. A thread from a shirt that saw you through a long night. You stop arguing with the ache about its timetable. You become a steady keeper of lamps instead of a hunter of lightning. You learn that illumination is a patient craft. There is an hour before dawn that belongs to no one but you. In that hour the world is a bowl and you are the water that settles. When daybreak arrives, you pour yourself into the shape of motion. Your friendships evolve into rooms with softer chairs. You ask for presents without announcements and receive it in simple gestures. You offer presents without speeches and give it in practical ways. You return to the work that waited while you learned to breathe. You carry your tools with a reverence that surprises you. You understand that labor is a path, not a verdict. You look at the calendar and see space instead of threats. You circle a day with a pencil and call it a beginning. You arrive at that day without loud fanfare and still feel it change you. You consider the word home and feel it move to the center. It no longer relies on walls or neighborhoods. It beats under your palm like a faithful drum. You forgive the hour that brought you to your knees. You forgive the moment your voice broke and did not return for a while. You forgive the long stretch of sky that offered no answer and still held you. Blessing 444. You practice walking through the house with deliberate softness. Your footsteps become agreements rather than demands. Your hands become translators for whatever your chest cannot speak yet. You gather photographs that used to tear at your ribs. You place them flat and breathe until the edges blur into story. You let the story live without insisting on the old ending. A mirror catches you laughing without permission. The sound startles you as if a bird took flight indoors. You let it circle once and then find the open window. You rehearse a future that does not erase your past. It expands around the past like a larger room built with better windows. It holds the old furniture and still finds space for new light. You teach your mornings to begin with one true thing. Sometimes it is your name spoken gently. Sometimes it is your breath counted until your shoulders fall. You teach your evenings to end with one small release. Sometimes it is a thought set down beside the bed. Sometimes it is a sigh that leaves like a boat pushed from shore. Your nervous system learns the mathematics of enough. You add simple routines and subtract unnecessary alarms. You balance the day without chasing perfection. The doorbell rings in your mind less often than before. You no longer run to meet ghosts at the threshold. You let the hallway stay quiet when nothing real is arriving. You notice the ground is not a trap but a partner. It holds your weight and returns your courage through the soles of your feet. It asks only that you continue to touch it with trust. You stop breaking your own heart by revisiting places that deny your growth. You choose routes that match the size of your new courage. You choose rooms where your silence is understood without translation. You carry a sentence in your pocket for difficult hours. It is not a slogan or a chant. It is a promise you wrote to yourself on a good day and kept. You remember how to taste the world again. Fruit returns as a ceremony for your tongue. Water returns as a covenant for your lips. Your shoulders drop the old armor like leaves in late autumn. Underneath, there is skin that remembers the sun. Underneath, there is a pulse that keeps an ancient tempo. Blessing 555. You learn the hospitality of your own presence. You greet yourself at the door and mean it. You offer a chair and sit together without escape. The sorrow that once owned the room now shares it. It lives on a small shelf with the other things that taught you. It does not vanish, but it loses its throne. You begin to trust your voice in a deeper register. It speaks from the diaphragm of experience rather than the throat of defense. It carries across distance without shouting. You step outside at an hour when the city is a hushed prayer. Streets are soft and the sky is a held breath. You walk until your edges are clear again. A stranger holds a door and you accept the kindness without shrinking. A friend sends a message and you receive it without apology. Your chest learns the shape of gratitude without weight. You return home and everything looks slightly more possible. The table is just a table, and that is a relief. The bed is just a bed, and that is a promise. You undress from the day with tenderness instead of urgency. You fold your worry and place it where it cannot follow you to sleep. You leave the lamp low and let darkness be a blanket instead of a threat. When you lie down, the sorrow does not vanish, but it loosens its hands. You feel the promise of tomorrow as a gentle incline rather than a cliff. You fall into rest that holds rather than swallows. Morning arrives and your breath finds you where you are. You rise with the steadiness of someone who has practiced. You stand with the authority of someone who has earned their ground. You dress in the fabric of a day that fits. You step into hours that do not demand a mask. You carry the proof that surviving can look like living. You leave the house carrying only what you need. You walk into the street and the street welcomes your feet. You choose a direction and trust your weight to the earth. The sorrow walks behind you at a respectful distance. It bows when you turn a corner and lets you pass. It knows you are no longer its home. You are the bearer of a quiet, radiant gravity. You are the keeper of rooms where truth can breathe. You are the traveler whose map is written in steady ink. You return at dusk and your windows hold the last light. You stand in it until your shadows grow honest. You begin dinner with simple hands and a grateful spine. The day closes like a book that wants to be read again. You mark the page with the softness of your palm. You promise to return and keep the promise. Blessing 666. You sit once more and place your hand over your heart. The rhythm meets your palm like a drum through the walls of a festival. You realize the music was always yours. You speak to the room with the confidence of a lighthouse. Your words are not loud, yet they travel far. They find the version of you who once thought the night would never end. You light a small candle without ceremony. Its flame does nothing dramatic and everything necessary. It shows you the space you occupy and calls it enough. You look around at the life you have been quietly building. It is not fragile because it is simple. It is durable because it is true. The sorrow that no other soul could share has become a mentor. It taught you to gather yourself like a cloak against the wind. It taught you to walk forward without abandoning your tenderness. You close your eyes and listen for the sound of arrival. It is not a parade and it is not a storm. It is a door opening inside your chest with a key only you could forge. You step through with your head unbowed. You carry the past without dragging it. You carry the future without sprinting toward it. The night exhales and the house exhales with it. You stand in the center of a life that fits your name. You begin again without starting over. You end the day like a craftsman who knows the worth of steady hands. You set your tools down and let the bench rest. You leave the room in order because you trust morning to find you. You walk toward sleep with the calm of earned ground. You accept that sorrow can be a companion without being a ruler. You accept that healing can be quiet without being small. You turn off the light and the darkness blesses you back. You belong to yourself in a way that cannot be taken. You carry forward with a courage that does not need an audience. You rest. You keep. You rise.